Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Srethne, and every episode I bring a comic from all over the country and we talk about their comedy journey so far. And I'm excited because I believe this is my first comic from Arkansas. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Arkansas is Ray Porter. Hey, Ray, how are you?
Hey, all right. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Um,
being my guest.
man, you said I'm your first comic from Arkansas, like it's a bad thing you haven't had one. Let me tell you, it's slim pickings over here. But no, I know a lot of really good comics around here. But yeah.
Awesome. Most definitely. And I'm looking forward to just having them as my guests too, because I'm trying to put the entire US on the map and just
I really appreciate it, and there's some really good people here.
absolutely, most definitely. And from what we talked about off camera and off the record was amazing from like the scene there in Fayetteville. So surprisingly, like I looked through all your stuff and you were a Chicago-based comic and like 50 over 50 comics that are on the show are from Chicago, and I've always had like a best time of performing there. Like I've only performed there twice, but they were always both great times.
Like I said, I love Chicago. My whole family's from there. I'm actually not a Chicago-based comic. I started here, but I have done some work there, and I just love the city. I'm a huge Cubs fan, a huge Bulls fan, and I got a lot of friends there. So yeah.
Absolutely, most definitely. I started off in Los Angeles myself, and then just one time, and then I went home in Colorado and did some more mics, and then I
Yeah.
just totally found my voice in Florida, so it was out of all places, and I loved it. So
Right. I mean, I actually have never been to California, and I've never been to Colorado, but I I booked a whole tour with a tour mate last year, and of course it was canceled because of COVID. And we have like 5 shows in Colorado, and I was looking for because I got some really good friends there, like Charlie McMullen. Um, he lives in LA now, but uh, and he lived in Memphis for a while. But I actually just rebooked 3 shows in Colorado for the end of July and the beginning of August. So, and I'll be putting those dates up on my website pretty soon.
awesome, fantastic. Speaking of Charlie, he was like my very first comedy showcase was my roast. I wanted
I
to, I just wanted to start
I
off like
love Charlie.
baptizing fire.
I love Charlie. Um, we hit it off immediately, and I've said, it's maybe a good thing because whereas if he and I would have known each other like in high school, we would have been best friends, but we would have gotten arrested like immediately, for doing the two. So, but I love Charlie. He's great, dude.
Absolutely, me too. And he was my roast master, and it was just
He's great.
I'll send you the link, and it's like an hour long of just funniness. It's just
He's
fantastic.
he's such a great writer. He really is.
Yeah,
Can't say enough good things about my buddy Charlie.
absolutely, and one heck of an artist too. Like he's been drawing
I
artwork for
great.
my shows, and
It's great. I'm
phenomenal.
jealous. I'm so I wanted to be an artist, like go to art school from the time I was a little kid, and I think I told you I found out in community college that you don't just like become an artist and start getting paid. So I was like, if I'm going to have to teach, I am going to do philosophy. And so I switched that and transferred to the U of A here in Fayetteville. And that's why I've lived here for so long and got, got my degrees. And yeah,
Awesome stuff, and You studied philosophy and instead of art, and what made you pick philosophy?
Well, like I said, so I one thing is, and I think a lot of people do experience this, but I didn't know that I had all these same questions that are, typical of like an intro to philosophy class since I was a child. A lot of it had to do with growing up with a disability and just wondering like why and 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 stuff like that, and just why people ridicule other people, why people are racist, and and so when I found out that like this is a big part of philosophy, I was in, you know.
Absolutely. I think God gave us those because, like I was born with like a heart defect and it's still
Yeah,
happening now. And it's
yeah.
like maybe we're like this, the good ones that, he took a little more time on and gave her those superpowers, if you will. I turned mine into a superpower, and so like
Well, I turned mine into something, but I'm actually not a believer. I'm an agnostic, but I respect everyone's beliefs, and I don't discourage that. So
most definitely,
yeah,
indeed. I agree. And so you've been performing stand up for 9 years now, and what are some of your
yeah.
favorite memories from those 9 years?
Okay, so some of my favorites have been. Do you know about Altercation Festival?
I do,
It's
JT. I interviewed
just,
JT on my
yeah,
show.
JT's a good buddy of mine, and I did Altercation in 2018 and 2019, and I mean, it's such a just. If you know JT, he's so talented at like putting people together and finding like not only the funniest people but like the coolest, most generous people, and like you know and everyone I met like 100 new friends there, like both years, and it's just a whole lot of fun. And my second year I actually performed with the Bookables. um, for anyone who doesn't know, that was a group that Doug Stanhope formed, got together. Mishka Shabali, Christine Levine is in that, Brett Erickson, and Andrew Andrus, Chad Shank. There's some really, really talented people. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I love Doug, and like he dropped in and did a special surprise set at my home in Daytona Beach one time
Oh,
with
awesome.
with
So
Andy and
I just met. So I met Doug like the first or second year that I was doing comedy. He came to the our old venue where we used to perform, but people swarm him, and I don't like to do that to people. Um, and so I didn't really get to talk to him. So the first time, and we met, I said hello and all that, but I, for the first time, really talked to him over a on JT's The Road video cast. Um, and it was like we've been hearing about each other, like, and we're, have been almost connected for years. But yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, and he lives out in Bixby. Um, and I was at Mishka Shibali brought me out to Phoenix, and I did a run all around Arizona with him last summer or last February, right before COVID.
oh man. COVID definitely ruined everything for us for sure. Because I was planning on going on tour in the Central Time Zone, but then COVID hit, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to interview comics on the, just like JT on the road and interview
yeah,
comics that way.
right.
And but I figured this
I,
is like the next best thing, and I get to have like a longer conversation with you all. And it's much more
hey,
fantastic.
I'm glad it worked out.
Absolutely. So there's a silver lining in everything for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And Colorado loves what you're smoking, so that's where I'm
But
from.
hey, you know what's great is finally Arkansas passed it, and so it's totally legal now. I don't have to worry about, you know, just getting pulled over by some dumb hit cop for a little bit of weed, you know. So yeah, um, it's really nice to be able to just be like, hey, nothing new about it.
Indeed, most definitely. And so you also have a side project, a clip show that's on Facebook called Distant Uncles. And how did that all come about?
So we started that. I started that with a very good friend of mine, Zach Slusher, who actually he and Troy Giddings co-founded the comedy scene here. They started it. He was the first open mic I ever did. He was the first person I met in the parking lot, and we've been friends ever since. And so when we found out about the pandemic and I had to cancel my tour, we decided we wanted to do something, you know. So um, it's something that has been just totally out of my wheelhouse. I've never done any kind of stuff like that before, and it's been really cool actually, just getting out of my comfort zone and like doing some different stuff. So it's totally just absurd, you know. Yeah, um,
Indeed.
yeah.
Most definitely. And getting out of your comfort zone definitely makes you grow, and that's the best thing.
That is one thing that I've learned not only as a comedian but just in life. You know, and of course I'm, you know, my situation having cerebral palsy, it's kind of like you're always out of your comfort zone if you're among strangers. So I'm used to it. You know, it's like, oh, you think I'm, you know, moron or on drugs or whatever. Yeah, well, plenty of people do.
Most
Not my
definitely.
problem.
Indeed. That's the way like my appearance too. It's like they judge, like they say don't judge a book by its cover, and they judge me by my cover, but then like when I go to like a nice restaurant the same way that I'm dressed, they get like they pay for my food, and it's like so funny because they think I'm homeless. And it's like,
And
oh
it's
well.
like if you were homeless, that would be even more reason to give you a nice experience, you know, because it's like that would be a big treat, you know. People are so ignorant, you know.
That's for sure. And then I'm,
But there's
with
really great people out there, and I'm lucky to have really great friends.
indeed, most
And I've
definitely.
met so many of them through doing comedy. There's really like a camaraderie, especially, you know, when you're traveling, you're on the road, and you know you're staying at their houses, and yeah, it's great.
Indeed, most definitely. And that's when like I give them like, as you mentioned about your website with your dates on there, with the future Colorado dates on there. I just write on my website and I slip them the note and then I walk away and I'm like, you should have just like, we could have talked,
Yeah,
but thanks for paying for my meal. I'm out of here.
yeah, yeah.
So
You got to do that sometimes, you know. But that again, like I said, it's crazy over the years how many great comics that we all hear just rant and rave about how they love coming to our little Fayetteville comedy scene, and they book it year after year because we treat each other well and respect each other and try and have fun, you know. So
absolutely. I love cities like that are like you like Fayetteville and like Daytona and like Austin and Louisville and Pueblo. It's like all those cities. in Pueblo, Colorado, and it's like all those cities like people talk bad about, or all those states they talk about. But if you go to that certain city that where everyone's loved equally, it's like it's perfect.
I will say, Fayetteville definitely is not as metropolitan, definitely not as diverse as those other cities you named. Fayetteville still is predominantly white, and there's, it's a college town, so I wish it was a better college town. Like I wish we got better like bands come through and stuff. But it's I'll say I think it's the best place in Arkansas for sure.
Awesome. I'll definitely have to swing through and check it out myself.
Anytime you hit me up, let's hang.
Awesome. We'll have to be on a show together. That'd be pretty rad.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
I
And
can arrange that. I've done a few around here.
awesome. And like I'm like, I'm happy that you're gonna be in Colorado like the last half of like July and August, and like I have a festival there in Colorado, and I just booked Mo to be part of it, but it's gonna be like
Yeah.
it's gonna end in on July 19th, and it's like 4 days long. And then I'm like, oh
I'm
man,
just gonna miss you.
barely by
I,
like a hair.
man, shit. We'll get together though. We'll,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Most definitely.
And I've never been to Colorado. Like I said, I was booked for about 5 shows there, and it got canceled. So, and I've met some really great friends in Colorado, and I'm really looking forward to going out there and spending some time there.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful state. You can never get lost because the mountains are always beside you. So it's fantastic.
I hear, and I'm definitely gonna um, get some good weed while I'm there because so in Arkansas, it's a cap at only 30% THC. So
Ah,
they don't have that in other places. So that's always cool.
indeed. As a Colorado native, I've only smoked weed like a handful of times because like my buddies will never build tolerance for me. They'll give me all the good stuff, and I'm like, dude, you guys build me up. And like I remember
Yeah.
one time, like my buddy gave me this strain called Mr. Nice, and it won like the Cannabis Cup one year or something like
Uh-huh.
that. And like they gave it to me, and I was inhaling out of a bong, and I'm like, I am not feeling anything, guys. And all of a sudden, I was stuck to like a love seat, or like a couch, like a lazy boy for like 3 hours, and I couldn't feel anything below my neck. And I'm like, I was trying to go to the restroom, but I didn't know because I couldn't feel anything. And I'm like, this is like some hardcore stuff.
Man, if you don't smoke, and I've been, yeah, I mean, I'm everyday smoker for, over a decade, and even when I quit just for like if I run out for, you know, 3 or 4 days, when I get a new, especially a different strain, I get ripped still, and that's always so nice. But yeah, it can be disorienting.
And I'm Asian, so it puts the orient and disorienting, so it's fantastic.
Oh God, it was not. I was not punning on
It's all good, Ray. It's all good. And so we're raising funds for Border Kindness. And what made you pick Border Kindness to raise funds for with this episode?
Well, so I mean, I just the people who have been displaced and thrown in cages and torn away from their families and all of it, I just it's inhumane, and I just any little bit that I can do, that's and it's such a huge problem right now, especially. Also, Black Lives Matter, was one that I thought about as well, and I am totally pro that, pro Black Lives Matter as well, and so just there are so many things, and I studied. I was in the master's program for social work as well. So, I mean, I studied cultural diversity and like the prison system, our broken justice system, and how racist it is and stuff like that. So, anything I can do to help, especially how bad it's been, recently. I hate that. I hate that. You know. Um, but yeah, I'm I'm happy to give a little bit that I can. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm with you on that one, Ray. Most definitely.
Yeah.
And Ray, these are the questions I wanted to ask you because I wanted to go on tour as I mentioned before, but because of COVID, I couldn't do it. And
Sure.
with that said, Ray, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
That's a great question. It started when I was a little kid. Um, I learned. I knew I had cerebral palsy from the time that I was born. But when you're 5 years old or whatever, you don't understand that. And I knew I was different. But when I hit middle school, I everything changed, and I just couldn't figure out, because I was like, well, wait a minute. I never had a big self-esteem problem. I've always been pretty self-confident in, a lot of ways. And I just couldn't wrap my head around, like, wait a minute, like, what? I'm cool. Like, these people, like you're telling me I'm not, like, fuck that. Like, like, I'm cool. You guys are like, driving gigantic trucks and like dating your family members, like, come on. So and I had, existential problems that a lot of adults never deal with at a young age. And so really, I didn't know that was philosophy. And so when I went to community college and took my first philosophy class, I learned that. And everyone had always told me since I was a kid I should be a comedian. I didn't think I'd be good at it. I didn't think it would translate. But it's always been a part of my life. It's a part of how I communicate. I'd still be a virgin if I weren't funny. Yeah. Um, and it's just like when I did stand up for the first time, I got a feeling like I never felt before, and I still get that feeling sometimes. So it's something that is tied to like not just comedy, but like my whole life, you know. Um, and that's why a lot of my stuff is rough, but it's because I'm being serious. It's true, and that's what makes it funny to me, you know.
Indeed, I bared my soul on stage this past Wednesday about like my embarrassing poop stories, and that actually,
Oh,
my true stories. And I'm like, I'm just gonna just tell the world, and I'm like, so no, I can be like that Eminem final scene where he uses all those things that are about him, so the other
uh,
guy doesn't have any material on him. And I
yeah.
was just like, I'm just gonna say what's in my heart, and it was like 1:16 in the morning, and I'm like, that's the only time I can do this.
That is that I haven't done that on stage. I've seen lots of people do it, but hey, yeah, the average person would be very surprised at how many people in their 30s shit themselves every year.
Absolutely.
I was coming back on I got no problem talking about it. Everyone can know. I don't care. I was coming back from a gig I did in Little Rock, and it just hit. I'd been drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, and and it just hit, and I was nowhere. And so I turned off, and the only place was like this wine, like wine shop slash like country club. And I mean, I was exploding. And so I come in there, and they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I'm also like shitting my pants actively. And so I went in the bathroom and fucking cleaned up. Didn't say a word to anyone there. Then they're like, whatever that guy did, I'm just glad he didn't kill us. Or so, like they had to have thought I was nuts. But happens to the best of us.
Absolutely, indeed.
There's so much worse that happens in life than just shitting some pants. If that was the worst thing I had to deal with, I'd be very happy.
And speaking of coffee and cigarettes, and we talked about the Wu-Tang Clan before we went on air. And have you seen Coffee and Cigarettes? And there's like a
One of
scene with
my favorites. It's got Iggy Pop and Tom Waits. So yeah, I love that movie. I've met Jim Jarmusch and hung out with him at a festival that he curated, which Iggy Pop and the Stooges played at. And Jim was just such a nice guy, such a nice dude. Like the perfect example of like you're always I'm always a little anxious that like someone who I really love as an artist, I'm gonna meet them and they'll be a dickhead or something, because sometimes people are, and sometimes it's just like isolated. They're having a bad night or something. But I mean, he let me in to the VIP section. Me and my buddy all weekend. Um, so I didn't have to stand up for like 6 hours at a time. And he was so nice. I mean, so nice. He couldn't believe we were from Arkansas because it was in upstate New York in Monticello. And also, so many people were like, "You guys are from Arkansas? Like, you're not from Arkansas." Like I thought those people were like barefoot, like get their like family members pregnant, like have no teeth, and we're like, well, a lot of them are like that, just not us.
indeed.
It was a lot of fun.
Most definitely. My favorite, I'm biased. Like, my favorite scene in that movie was with RZA, Jizza, and Bill Murray. That's like,
What a combination! I mean, oh man, when I saw Jizza, which was at that festival, we saw him on the small stage. I mean, and he did it all liquid swords, which
wow.
just like a fucker. We were so excited, and I was like, we were standing 5 feet from him. It was great, man. Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's pretty rad. And what was this feeling like when you first performed stand up? Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It was absolutely like a switch flipped on. I I mean, I felt so many things and things I had never felt before. I mean, just like I just had this overwhelming intellectual and visceral feeling of like this feels right. Like I don't have to rationalize it. I know how I feel. This makes sense to me. And in a life that mostly doesn't make sense to me, And so that was it. Yeah, that was it. Of course, there's things that are just totally horrible about it, anything. But overall, I mean, it's been a very important outlet for me, and just yeah. I mean, I've met so many cool people. I've met some assholes. I've been in some just crazy ass situations, and I I I I love it. It's something that it's like something that I've always done essentially anyway. You know, so it's just natural.
Indeed, that's comedy for you. You meet the good guys, the bad guys, and the ugly guys. So it's like,
And girls and trans people. That's another thing. It's like, man, I grew up in Mountain Home, which is no, there's like no cultural diversity there. And I always felt kind of cheated because, like, I wanted to know from a young age, like, what are people like, like I said, going into philosophy and stuff. Um, and so when I moved to Fayetteville and became educated and stuff like that, I was like, I want to meet as many different kinds of people that I can. And there's people who are idiots of all kinds, but I mean, I've really met some just awesome, talented, smart, caring people through comedy. It's like a secret society almost in a way. You have a certain bond. You know, unless like you said, it's the assholes. And then you just they're always coming around. But yeah,
indeed. And it's just like no point of arguing with piles of poop, anyways, because,
fuck
they
that. And that's another great thing. I mean, you were asking me about sort of my reasons for doing comedy. Um, I struggled for my whole life with anger, and so like before I had comedy as an outlet, I would do. I was just trying to be funny, and that's coping for me. And so people just thought I was a mean person. I mean, people who didn't really know me, they just thought, God, why is Ray so angry and stuff? And it really made a huge difference in my ability to just connect with people in a much easier way, and I didn't feel like I had to always be saying this stuff, because I can just it's it can be my performance, you know. So that has been absolutely critical to me, for me. Yeah.
indeed. And what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
I do not have a favorite comedy record album. I'm actually not a big fan of watching stand-up comedy. No, there's people I love. Bill Hicks. Uh, I mean, it doesn't age well, but just his creativity and energy and stuff like that, uh, and intelligence, and my George Carlin, big time. Um, but honestly, the people who really I dig and I would say are my favorite comedians are people that I've worked with and seen, what Mo Alexander, JT Haversat, Eddie Pevitone, um, yeah, a lot of people. So I'm really into that. But yeah, I also I watched the Dave Chappelle. special. I've always liked him a lot. That was pretty heavy, and man, he it was heavy, but and he got criticized and shit for it. But Dave has always had, kind of been one step ahead in a lot of ways. Like he's not afraid to push people, and I admire that. You know.
Most definitely. I agree. I'm with you 100% with the comedy specials and record albums. I mean, there's a few that stand out, of course, but like I'd much rather see it live than like listen to it or watch it on a
It's
screen.
completely different, just like seeing a band. It's just so much different, you know. So yeah, I honestly I couldn't tell you the last comedies, but I think it was the Dave Chappelle one, or actually, it's either that or Eddie Pepitone's last one for the masses. Um, I love Eddie. I got to meet him and become friends with him at Altercation, and he and JT performed here uh, 2 Decembers ago, and I love JT, and I Eddie is, I mean, just a force to be reckoned with. So, such
Indeed.
a nice guy too. And I can't say enough about JT Hallersatt. Like he has helped me out so much, and is such a cool guy. I mean, so yeah, let's see, Dave Stone. Have you ever? Dude, that guy's so good, so good. I got to open for him. Um, let's see, Christine Levine. Um, she's amazing too. And then people, I mean all kinds of local people who I know. My friends Taylor Hearn and Wayne Jackson. I mean it's not about being famous. It's not about, and that's one reason why I've been doing stand up for so long, and I never, I'm just starting to kind of pursue a career in it, because um, I was in graduate school, and it just I went back and forth on it because it's a love hate thing, and it's like I can take them or leave them, I'll be saying and doing the same thing regardless of where I'm at.
Indeed, most definitely.
You
And
know,
I was hoping to see him. I would love to see Eddie perform live. But every time JT rolls through Florida, I gotta go see him because he always shows me love. I show him love, and like I interviewed him, and he kept my interview on his website, which is awesome. And
he
so
is
it's
a,
always loved. He's
he's
fantastic.
amazing in so many ways, and Eddie too. Man, I will say, uh, so and I've seen like Brian Posehn. I got to perform with him. Derek Sheen. He's amazing, dude. Such a nice guy too. I mean, I just Cliff Cash is one of my favorite. I mean, just the list goes on. Those are the people who excite me. And you know, uh, but yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but that's who I look up to and enjoy, and feel lucky that like not everyone gets to do this. Um, it's awesome. I'm always honored, when I get him. I did a festival. Do you know Christine? I'm sorry, Kristen Becker.
I'm
Have
not
you ever
familiar
met?
yet. Not yet. Yeah.
You should hit her up. She is such a great comedian, such a great person. I met her at Altercation, and she started doing a festival called End of the World Festival in Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's like Cape Cod, basically. Um, and she is a lesbian, and um, the town of Provincetown is like it's like the LGBT destination in the country, basically. Such a cool place. You see people walking down the street, like like totally integrated, feeling comfortable, holding hands with, whomever, and it was so great. And doing a festival, I was really honored, to be invited to that and to perform at that. And it was so much fun. I love Kristen. You should definitely check her out. So that was another thing. I mean, just traveling, and I met like 15 cool new people from there, and like, it's yeah. So I got to do that too, and that was in 2019 as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll have to share with you the interviews I've conducted with Cliff and Dave Stone and JT.
Dude,
So I'll send you all those interviews. So.
I've been wondering because like so okay, I'm a person who like when you texted me, like I'm like, who the fuck is this? Because and I didn't read the text or anything first, and on my personal page, my Facebook fan page isn't really like my fan page is my originalgimp.com like website. That's it. But so my personal page is also for comedy, you know. And so uh what the fuck was I saying there?
Oh, when I reached out to you, you didn't know who I was, and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah. And so I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then you said like Mo Alexander, and I checked out your profile. I see your friends list is like JT, fucking Charlie, Raina, all these people. I'm like, wow, Dave. Yeah, it's like, damn, yeah, all right, we can do this.
Awesome. That means a lot because I'm just like reaching out to
Yeah.
comics like yourself and like, all the comics that are like up and coming or on the cusp of being famous before they become famous and they get an agent and a publicist and they can't talk to them. And it's like, all right, and that's why I don't ever want to become a famous comic. I'm like, I'm walking away in like a year and some change when I'm 40. And I'm like, I just want to just produce shows and put my pals on a platform like in
Yeah,
Colorado and Daytona and I'll be good to go. Like I'm gonna walk
sure.
away. So
I
it's
have
their turn.
it's never been like a thing of mine. I mean, that's not how I started. That's not what it means to me. I don't even, that's never been like the approach. Like, it's not about that to me. It's about connecting with people and making people think, and also being a mouthpiece for people with disabilities, people experiencing poverty, people, you know what I mean? Like, um, if that's the way I can spread awareness, and also, I've had a lot of people who have cerebral palsy come up to me afterward, and I have had some people come up to me and tell me, how dare you say the things that you do about having a disability? That's disgusting. And I'm like, well, do you have a disability? No. Well, I do. And it's empowering. And everyone who comes up to me with a disability tells me thank you. And that's a huge reason why I do it too. You know, just I've had people say I've never felt like I was in the incorrect, like in a whole room of people, and that's amazing to me. And it's not an accident. That's what I do. And so I know how that feels in my own way, and that's a really important thing to me.
Indeed. And I noticed your Halloween post in the background, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I love horror movies, and
Me too. Me
it's
too.
they're fantastic. And
If you could see the rest of our house, it's all Halloween decorations all year. Yeah.
awesome, fantastic. I am, and so with that, and this is like the complete 180. And so, what are your favorite sitcom sketch shows and comedy films?
Okay. So that's that is hard. Okay. Curb Your Enthusiasm, for sure. One of the best ever. Um, in its own right. In ways, I think you can't compare things to one another exactly. So, like, it's sort of like saying, who is the best band of all time? It's like, well, fuck, how do you even do that? But yeah, I also this new one or newer one. I think you should leave. Have you seen that? I, I was impressed as fuck with that. I thought that was great. Tim and Eric. I and I started out hating Tim and I remember in college I would go over to my buddy's house, and it was four dudes living in a house. We all played music. It was like they were in a band, all this, and it's like we were always getting stoned and hanging out and shit. And like Tim and Eric would be on and stuff, but I never even paid like a minute of attention to it. And I thought it was like dumb. And I thought they were doing it just to be quirky and sort of like shocking. But then when I watched it, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, holy shit, this is revolutionary. So I absolutely Mr. Show, um, and anything Odenkirk does, you know. Yeah, definitely that stuff for sure. Um, did that answer your question?
Yep,
So
and comedy movies.
movies. Man, I do not. Like I said, I don't watch much stand up at all. But generally, and it's funny. You can ask any of my family members or good friends, or my roommate who's also a good friend. The only time I'm going to a movie theater is if we're seeing a horror movie. Like, because if I'm gonna pay and go hang out. But yeah, I don't know. Favorite comedy movies. Um, I'd have to think on that. You
Most
know.
we'll come back to it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, we got time.
Indeed. And speaking of Bob Odenkirk, did you watch Nobody yet, or have you seen it
No, I
yet?
have not. I just heard about
Oh,
it.
it's amazing. Like
Uh,
him and RZA and Christopher Lloyd are the baddest three like cool guys in that movie. It's like, oh, it's
I
so
I saw like I said the advertisement the other day, and I'm like, well, this can't go wrong. Yeah. Um, did you like Breaking Bad?
I did. I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched Better Call Saul yet,
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
but I loved Breaking Bad. I mean, I don't do meth or nothing or do drugs, but I was just such an incredible storyline. It's just all the way through, and like the death scenes were amazing, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Oh, I don't do meth either. um, in fact, most people, I've had friends who were like criminals have been locked up, I didn't mean like criminal, but like had done bad things and been locked up specifically for meth, and they're like, I can't watch that, you know, it's too real. So I can't speak to that, but I personally think that that was the best sitcom, or like whatever that's called. It's not a sitcom, but like series ever, perhaps.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly. And speaking of like John Carpenter and Halloween, like
Yeah.
I went and saw Big Trouble in Little China at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles when I
Uh,
was living there, and
yeah.
John Carpenter was in the audience for a Q&A with Rain, the guy that played Rain,
Yeah.
and I
Oh my God, dude, that's so cool.
yeah, and I brought with me my laser disc from Big Trouble in Little China, and because I have this massive collection of horror movies on laser disc, and
That's
um and
awesome.
and other like cool
Like those
movies.
big motherfuckers.
Yeah. And
That's
so
awesome.
I walked
What?
up to John and Rain and they go, "Hey, can you guys sign this?" And they're like, "Absolutely." And they autographed it and then they gave it back to me. It was awesome. Fantastic stuff.
John Carpenter is such good. I mean, Halloween. Like, I I I watch a lot of horror movies, all kinds of different stuff. But Halloween is it's what started me on horror movies, and it's still just I I fall asleep watching to it, or fall asleep watching it sometimes in like July, and so like, all
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Indeed. I know this is off topic, but in the words of Scream, what is your favorite scary movie or R? Because there's plenty of them out there.
It's kind of like that band question, and then like, what's my favorite? That's really hard to nail down, because like for different reasons, like favorite slasher film, like probably Halloween. Favorite like crazy psychedelic fever dream, Eraserhead. Favorite silent film, like maybe like Nosferatu, or I mean, and then also stuff like the Lighthouse that was pretty recent. I mean, that was great. That was it was like a Jean Paul Sartre play or something, like No Exit. It was great. I love stuff like that. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
My top five is biased. Because I was this Master of Horrors apprentice when I lived out in LA, and it was with Clive Barker, and so
Oh damn!
my top five are Candyman, Nightbreed, the director's cut that came out in 2014, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, Hellraiser, and the Midnight Meat Train. Those are my top five. Those are
Makes sense. Makes sense. I like those too. I almost put on my Hellraiser T-shirt. You know, this was on top of the pile. So,
awesome. And shout out to Mo because without Mo, I wouldn't have had you on the show, and I'm loving this interview so far. So it's
oh
fantastic.
man, no, I cannot say enough about him. He's basically my comedy mentor, um, and also just a wonderful friend. And he I'm a firm believer, that like no one just does everything by themselves. Like it takes a lot of help, and he is definitely one of the people that was like, "Hey, reach out and help me out," and just what a great friend. He's so funny. I've seen Mo like make people fall out of their chairs laughing. I mean, Mo is, and again, he's no bullshit. When you talk to him, he's no bullshit. Yeah, that's who he is, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I can't wait to see him perform live and meet him in person at the fest because I'm
Oh,
just like
you've never seen him perform? You're in for a treat.
he was supposed to come
Yeah.
down to Daytona, but then COVID hit. I'm like, gosh dang it. And it was at my homeroom too. And I'm like,
Uh,
oh, well, it's better to see him at my fest than in Daytona. And the funny thing is, like in Daytona, my homeroom, I'm having another Stress Fest there because I was trying to bring everyone from Florida to Colorado to my fest, but it was going to be
uh,
too expensive. So I'm like, why don't I just bring the festival to them and it'll be much cheaper? So it's
yeah.
like, it's fantastic.
You will, to say you will not be disappointed to see Mo is major understatement. He's amazing.
I can't wait for sure.
You'll love him. Um,
Indeed.
I don't understand how anyone wouldn't, but yeah, that's a matter of taste, you know.
Most
Um,
deaf.
it's refreshing. Um, and also that's just speaking like, comedy. Now, aside from that, also he's one of my very, very good friends, and I actually talked to him on the phone last night. And Sandra is my agent, so and I love her too. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, you're preaching to the choir about those folks. I miss them, and I think that they are still going to be in Colorado when I get there. So I think that we're scheduled to hang out with Chandra, um, uh, Lindsay Gazer, Charlie McMullen, and Dino Will Will?
I don't know Dean, but
Oh,
I know Lindsay, and because she'll be performing on my fest too. Because they're all coming together. Charlie, Lindsay, and Mo are all gonna be in
yeah,
Colorado at the same time. So I'm like, just
yeah,
come on over to the fest, and you're all on there. So it's
yeah.
fantastic. I worked out all the details with them and made sure that they'll be taken care of. And so I'm so happy that they're gonna be a part of it again this year.
Uh,
Charlie is, and but Lindsay will be there for the first time. Mo's gonna be there for the first time, but Charlie's been there almost every single year because he's amazing.
I can't say enough positive things about Charlie, and I love him. I have not been able to meet Lindsay yet, and I really look forward to it. I hear nothing but great things about her, and if she is friends with them, generally that's a good litmus test. You know.
Absolutely, indeed, and that's what the cool secret society of stand-up comedy is. It's like
I,
it might be large, and like we're all over the place, but we're a small circle. So it's like everyone almost knows each other in like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing, like Charlie says. So it's like it's fantastic.
yeah. And I am a big like I'm if we get to be close friends, I'm gonna keep in contact. I don't care where you live. It's something I've always done. Now sometimes I mean I am only human. Sometimes I'll let it slip or whatever for a while, but I generally am the one that keeps in contact and like calls and stuff, like just even if it's like, why the fuck are you calling me, right? Like just like, hey, it's just fun to say hi and know if you're okay.
Indeed, most definitely. And let's see here. If you can go on tour with any comedian locally and internationally known, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
Eddie Pepitone would be one of them. Um, it's hard because so many of them and so much of it is like not even about like are they the best comedian, but like what's it like to be on the road with them cooped up in like hotel rooms and like stuff. I mean, that's almost more important. Um, I would love to go on tour with JT. Um, because we've been friends for so long, and yeah, I have always enjoyed him, and but unfortunately, we've never really gotten to hang out a whole lot. Like I just saw Charlie a couple months ago. Where, we hung out in the driveway and stuff. Charlie's spent the night at my house a couple of times. Kristen Lady, another person who I mean, really, she's a great comedian and just a fantastic person and friend. Totally in that category. Whitney Chitwood also was very impressive to me. Um, I would like to get to know her better. Lots of and but yeah, I'm gonna be out there, and I met some of the coolest people from Colorado. Um, um, Kyle Pogue, do you know him? I love Kyle Pogue, man. I mean, and Evan, his girlfriend, she's actually from Mountain Home, where I'm from.
Wow.
And we met in Austin at Altercation and just was like, what? Yeah, because she had seen my act and I talk about it and she's like, holy shit, you're from Mountain Home. Also Josh McClain. Um, yeah, he played in a band called Primer 55 that played like they played Mountain Home. And so that's crazy that I mean he was doing that and I wasn't into that at the time. I had no idea who he was, and then we started doing comedy and now we're like good buds. It's great, man. You know?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
I feel
remember.
honored. I know it's weird. I mean, I understand that I've worked hard and you know whatever, but I feel honored to get to meet and have these conversations with smart people from all different kinds of and it just I mean that is also a huge part of why I do comedy, you know. And it's I feel lucky, you know.
Indeed. I've seen Primer 55 perform a couple times when I used to live in Pueblo, Colorado. There was this dive bar called Phil's Radiator at the time, and they would go there and perform. And Kyle, like I messaged him on Facebook because I was trying to set up my own tour in Colorado back in like October of like a couple years ago.
Uh,
But there was a snowstorm that closed down the interstate, so I couldn't go ahead and finish my tour. But like it cleared just in time because on Halloween night, Wu-Tang Clan was performing on Halloween night, and I got to go see him, and I was
yeah,
like in third row. I was like, this is
that's
awesome. So
awesome.
fantastic.
So cool. I wish that I had been able to see them when they were still together, but that's awesome. And on Halloween, wow.
Indeed. And speaking of the movie Halloween in the background, and I had like my cape on. I was like all Wu-Tanged out, and they put my name on the ticket, and I was like, this is so dope. And I was like, this is awesome. So I enjoyed it. And I took my metal buddy with me because he goes, it's been a while since I've been to Redbox, but I've never seen Wu-Tang in concert. I'm like, but the only thing was like Method Man wasn't there, so I was bummed, but it was okay. So
And it's crazy, you don't realize that one great thing about bands like Wu Tang, Public Enemy, or groups like that. I mean, it's not like listening to it on a record. You go there and it's like a punk show.
yeah.
I mean, it's like fucking like MC5, like Black Panthers, like fucking get the W up and don't take it down. It's like, damn, I am a white fucking metal indie psych rock, Sonic Youth kind and Stooges kind of thing. I am not used to being told militantly what to do during especially when it's like I can't do this, I have a disability. I want to make the W, but I fucking can't.
Indeed, and it's it's always cool to go into those Wu Tang shows because, like you said, it's like a punk show. Like even if it's just I seen Method Man and Redman perform together at the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip before, and that was just like a punk rock
The
experience. And
energy is amazing.
yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
wild.
Yeah, and it's so like positive, but it's still dangerous. And I mean, I Wu Tang definitely is not what it used to be. Well, for one thing, they're not together. But and they all have solo shit, done movies and stuff. But I mean, that is something that I love about. And the Beastie Boys, like, I mean, they had that energy and stuff like that, in a really different way. But like, Nas, I love that. I mean, I love all kinds of stuff like that. And it's
Indeed.
people just like with comedy, just like with lots of any kind of performance. It's like it's different when you are there in front of them. Like, and I've been lucky to see some really great acts in my life. Comedy and music. So,
Absolutely. And in the vein of punk rock, it's like, I love, bringing it back to Doug Stanhope and JT Habersack and Fest even. Like, I love that it's like DIY and like we take over like independent venues and sometimes it's in the basement of
uh,
somebody's home or wherever. Just as long as it's
but
happening, it's just
I
amazing.
love. I've always loved house shows doing comedy. Some people are like terrified of them. I love it. It makes me happy. I feel comfortable. In fact, when I was out in Arizona in February, the last show was Mishka Shubalik's birthday party, and he had me perform. And we were gonna do it in his yard where he usually does it, but it flooded
Oh,
morning. So I mean, and his mother Elaine is a saint. I love her. Like we got to talk, and I mean, she's so cool. She works so hard. She's like not a young lady. And they put that venue together, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. And it was just, I mean, 20 people or something. But a lot of times I can have a, a different kind of energy and intimacy with like 8 people that's this kind of like, damn, this is amazing that you're not going to get from an arena, but because it's so like hard to, and I'm somebody like when I do comedy, I look people in the eyes, like I'm talking to you people, like that's why I'm here. I'm engaging you. And some people like kind of like pick a spot and look at it. And I get that. You just do your thing. But it doesn't work for me unless, and I'll be the first one to admit, nah, it's not a secret. Anyone can tell you. If I get the feeling that they're not getting it the way I want them to get it, or what I get very, and I get very intense about it sometimes. Yeah, not that I would ever like hurt someone, not like that, but yeah, take it a little bit personally sometimes. Yeah.
most definitely. Indeed. And let's see here. If you can get roasted by five comedians, past and present, which comedians would you get roasted by?
Man, so yeah, that's a good question. And roasts have always been so popular, and people love them. Honestly, I've never been a big fan, and part of it, I can tell you, like, dude, I can roast. I mean, I grew up. I grew up roasting people. That was survival for me because I was always getting roasted. Like that was another thing. It was like I had to decide at about the age of 12, am I gonna, um, you know, be a quiet, dude that doesn't say anything or make waves, or am I not? And then, uh, you know, so that's something that, yeah, I mean, I had to learn, people, and they would always go for the low hanging fruit, like, ooh, ooh, and then the thing that's really funny about that is when you hand them their ass and their own friends laugh at them, and then you're evident like, look at you, fucking get just eaten up by the gimp that you're just making fun of, and your own little fucking inbred dumbass friends are laughing at you too. You little shit. I mean, yeah, I decided at a young age that I'm not gonna live like that. So um, I had to learn and it's funny. When I was in college, I would drive up and down, from class, and I'd see people on the street, and I'd just riff on them, like nothing personal. I didn't even know them, but it's just like, all right, go, like, you know, tear this person apart, and we did this like every day, all the time. So, you know, but I just, um, it's too formulaic. And personally, I've only been roasted once, and I understand that's a hard position to put somebody in, even if you know that, like, dude, Ray can take. No one wants to get up there and just like talk shit about somebody with a different experience, you know, like, yeah. So I get that, and honestly, it's just like, man, for this time in in our nation, and how divided and fucked up it is, I just don't feel like ripping into people, you know, for like just laughs. Like I I I criticize people, but really I'm criticizing the ideology, you know. Um, And yeah, I'm criticizing people in general too. Or yeah, if you're the dumbass that I've encountered many times that's gonna come to a comedy show and heckle and think you're gonna take it out, sorry, you came to the wrong place. You know, if I'm there, because you're not gonna have a good time. But it's so annoying, It's like I don't I don't show up at people's houses like, hey, I'm gonna be your plumber today. Like, I don't know shit about that. So let me do my job.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's why, like, I picked like my very first show, my first comedy show. It was like it was my idea to get roasted, and I'm like, just baptize me in fire. Let's get this roast over with. I don't want to be on any other roast show. And I pick my panel. I'm like, I'd much rather have my friends roast me, and so I can roast them back because I know them like
Yeah,
that. And it's just like,
yeah,
let's go. Let's just get it out of
yeah.
the way. Because like I noticed like over time that through the years, like the more that we do stand up, the more sensitive we get. And so it's like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna get this out of the way. I'm just gonna get it out of the way. So,
But one thing that what really, and it didn't offend me because I understood, but like it sucked, and it was like unintentional bias. People were afraid to be real and rip into me, and it's like, but don't you understand? By doing that, you're discriminating against me. It's not a secret that I have cerebral palsy. It's not a secret that I spit when I talk sometimes, or like, you know, everyone knows. So like, you don't assume that everybody knows this, and I've lived with it my whole life, and I'm a comedian. And you think you're gonna hurt my feelings with a joke during a roast? I mean, like, I mean, if you stole my little dog here, who I love, and brought him to the roast and like set him on fire on stage, okay, that's a problem. This is Cubby, by
Hi,
the way.
Cubby. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, he's silly dog. But yeah, that would offend me, But uh, shaky like, you know.
Indeed. Like when when it was my turn to roast everyone back, I went after Charlie first, and I said, with his hairdo and all, like, you remind me of like Kevin Smith, if he was a stunt double for Cameron Diaz, and there's something about Mary because of how her hair stuck up in the
As it
front.
is, yeah.
I
And
just went out.
Charlie is great at roasting. I mean, he started You Look Like, which is it's essentially a roast, but it's clever. It's like got that point. Charlie's a fucking rad dude.
He
But
is.
I didn't, you know, I was talking about doing that with Mo, and then I realized, well, he wouldn't be fucked up about it, of course. But especially now, post COVID and all this stuff, I mean, all of this stuff, it's not that I think he would be offended at all. I don't want to get up there and be ripping into people that are like got a different experience. I just, it's not the time for me. And also, I'm into different things, you know.
Indeed, most definitely. And I agree too. Like nowadays, it's just I don't want to get roasted. So it's like, but
I,
Ray, where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
well, I have made lots of big plans in my life. Um, big, big commitments, academics, and graduate school and stuff like that. And so one thing I've learned is you never know what the fuck is gonna happen. you know. Hopefully though, I've got some really great connections now, and hopefully I can get because I this was going to be my first like real like tour tour. Like I said, I got a late start, but like hopefully I can do that and grow and whatever it is, as long as it satisfies the therapeutic need that I have for it, then I'll keep doing it. And as long as people still want to, people still are paying attention and will reason and get it, and I feel that it's relevant, I'll still do it. But um, if I don't, that just didn't work out. I'll do something else. You know, I'll still do comedy, just like it's part of my life. And just like I never stopped doing philosophy just because the school part ended. So yeah, and I hope because I've been so lucky to meet some really talented, helpful, awesome people that have become my friends. Hopefully, I'm gonna keep building and making connections and working hard and just keep doing it. But we touched on it earlier. I never have looked at comedy ever in terms of like getting famous and like getting on TV. That'd be fine, but that to me is not even in the realm of like why I'm doing it. Um, for me, it's all about number one, my own therapeutic input. If it didn't work for me, sorry guys, but I'm out. Um, but eh, as long as I'm still feeling like I'm getting something out of it, I'm gonna keep doing it. You as long as I can. You know.
Indeed, and that's why I didn't want to go to graduate school because for two reasons. One was because my GPA was really low, and after when I graduated, it was like a 2.6. And the other reason was because student loans are a pain, and I've had buddies that have really insane student loans, and I'm like, I don't want to go into that kind of debt.
I told you I have dropped out of 3 master's programs. Yeah, the one for philosophy, I had done the whole thing besides finish my thesis. I had already written a bunch of it. I just didn't finish it. So
And
yeah.
man, that those thesis papers are the worst too. Because like I had I felt like I just finished like Chris Farley and Tommy Boy because like I had a D in this class.
Ah,
And
Herbie Hancock.
absolutely
What's
two
your
points.
Herbie Hancock on it? Yeah, I remember. Sorry
Absolutely.
to, yeah.
It's all good. It's like my GPA was like 2.6 and I just got a D in that class and like my thesis paper was like I'm dreading this thesis paper and like my teacher wouldn't even read it and I wrote it but I'm glad he just gave me a D and like let me graduate because I was like I need to go back out to LA because that internship turned into an apprenticeship so I was like I'm out of here no matter what. So
Yeah, yeah,
indeed.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
Ray,
ultimately, the it's so fucked up that you can't really just go in and learn and do your work. It's all this politics and all this and let's face it, universities are a business
absolutely.
and they take advantage of you any way they can.
Especially when it comes to those textbooks. Those books are so expensive. It's insane. Like hundreds of dollars for a book. It's nuts.
And just tuition and then on top of it, they don't pay their professors shit.
Nope.
It's just the whole thing is a scam.
Yep.
I'm not saying that you can't. I mean, I've had invaluable, um, just great things that I would never change about it. That were under fucked up situations. So I mean, it's not just one or the other. It's all mixed in. But when it comes down to it, um, I have never cared about kissing anyone's ass for like philosophy. You know, so I mean, they don't like that. you know, because they're really into that, and especially the shitty ones that are professors and are uninspiring to me, and they know that, and then they're mad at me or whatever. It's like I don't give a shit. In fact, give a shit. You got a PhD. I think what you're saying is horseshit, and I'm entitled to say that. I've studied philosophy, you know.
Indeed, and like and just like Chris Farley and Tommy Boy did spend 7 years to get a bachelor's degree, but I only did that because like one I got academic probation and I got expelled from the community
Oh, I've
college
had
in
it too.
town.
Yeah.
And then I got like I didn't want my parents to know, so I transferred to the university, and instead of like going into further in student loan debt, I just took the scenic route and just took like one class at a time or two classes at a time, just so I didn't get into debt. So it's like
Oh yeah. I've one of my best friends has been doing that for almost a decade. Still doesn't have his degree yet. He's almost there. But
nah,
hey, if it works for you and if it fits your life and if you can afford it and if it's enriching your life and making you happy, what else is there?
indeed, most
What
definitely.
you know.
And now I don't feel bad because I was hoping not to beat that go to school for a decade thing, and even if I was a doctor, but
Yeah, I mean, and hey, hold that thought. I'm gonna run and get a drink. Is that
Okay.
okay? Okay,
Yep, sounds
I'll be
good.
right back.
Awesome. I'll keep the crowd entertained. So while Ray's away, I wanted to remind everyone to donate to his Cash App, his follow him on Instagram, donate to his PayPal, follow him on Twitter, donate to his Venmo, visit his website, originalgimp.com, and for all his featured tour dates, and donate to the Border Kindness as well. Those are in the ticker below and also in the description box below. So you'll find all that good stuff in his current sketch shows that he's going on with on Facebook. So all that information is below. So just click and follow and donate and subscribe and all that stuff for Ray and all that good stuff. So Ray,
And thank you ahead of time so much.
indeed, most definitely. And so you're doing sketches now, and so which other forms of comedy would you like to venture off into, like improv, comedy writing, directing, etc.?
Um, so, uh, one of the only classes I ever liked in high school was a theater class, and the only thing at that point that I cared to do was improv. But I really liked it, and I was only 16, so I took this whole semester of a class that was a theater class, and all I focused on was improv. So I met my friends and I just did improv every time. And it was always absurd, you know. But that was when I was 16. I'm 37 now, you know. And that's not the kind of thing that I'm used to doing. But again, like I said, part of what really motivates me is to see if I can take something that's out of my like comfort zone or definitely out of like what seems to be, you know, that I maybe I can do and just see if I can do it, you know. And that's been awesome, you know. And I forgot how much we don't do a lot of improv, but I mean I still a lot of stand up comedians. I don't get it. It's always like this false dichotomy of like you gotta be improv or you gotta be uh, stand up, and never the twain shall meet. You know, I never understood that. I you know, I love playing music too. I love fucking eating pot roast. Like what you don't have to pick. You know, so I just think that's silly. You know. Do what you want. And one of my good friends took a class at Second City. Um, and that was cool. I got to see a couple shows over there and stuff. I don't know how I would feel about taking a class at this point. I guess if I was really gonna try and pursue it and I had some kind of like really solid gig like lined up, yeah, I'd definitely do it. Maybe even love it, but probably without that motivation, I'm not gonna go there. You know? But definitely, I love experimenting with absurdism. Like I said, Tim and Eric, one of my favorites. I also, speaking of new newer stuff, the Eric Andre show, fucking great. You know, I love stuff that makes people uncomfortable. You know, I think, and some people do that, and it's like it's. I feel like there's a substantive difference in why they're doing it. I'm not doing it just to like freak people out and make them feel this. I'm doing it because I think it's a extremely important and vital experience in order to interact with people on the level that we can really harness and really should be interacting with people. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's why people say that I'm like the cleanest, dirtiest comic in Daytona Beach because I love making people feel like uncomfortable with my stand up, but I don't mean it like in a mean way, but it's
No,
like because they say that because I'm like I say all these gross, dirty things, but I don't say a curse word in any of my
yeah,
sets, and I'm like, and I love hearing people like moan and groan other than laugh,
I,
and it's like when they mix it all in, it's just a perfect gumbo. It's just so amazing.
I relate a lot, and man, I love it. I mean, the looks on people's faces when they introduce and they know and say, okay, this guy has cerebral palsy or he's got some kind of, and then they get me, and not only a lot of times it is their first experience of not only seeing a person with a disability that isn't like quiet and humble and sort of just, but is even like cocky and condescending and offensive. I mean, people I think need to experience that, and I've felt that my whole life. And people get the wrong idea about it, like, oh, you're just trying to rile people up and piss people. No, I'm trying to bring people together, actually, if that makes sense. You know, it's an invitation to be like, hey, here's what I got for you. We're all in this same room. You paid to come see me. I like to try and make everyone feel like we're going to go on a journey together and it's going to be, you're going to follow me down some of these paths that you're going to feel real uncomfortable about. But I promise, and I won't tell them this, but in the end, I always am gentle about it in some way because ultimately, I I care quite a bit about people, love people, you know. And
Indeed.
also, I, to be vulnerable is what's really tough, you know. Macho shit, that ain't tough. That doesn't take guts. That doesn't. I'm just plugging the computer in. That doesn't
Okay.
guts. That doesn't take, whatever. What really takes talent and really is a risk is to fucking make yourself vulnerable, in my opinion. Because then people, it's not just like, this guy's being Andrew Dice Clay or some shit. It's like, whoa, this dude's fucking telling me some fucking shit. And they think it's like, you know, how does he handle this? And that's part of the message is like, that shit ain't gonna break me. I've been dealing with it since I was like 5. I'm waiting for you guys to catch up. So, like, it's part of why I'm doing comedy. I'm trying to fill you in. you know,
Absolutely, indeed. And looking back, I wish I studied theater, but I'll take theater classes because my one person show got picked up at the Orlando Fringe, so it's called Stories on Sunset, and the first act is how I met Clive and got to be his apprentice, and the second act is how I became a concert journalist out in LA, and the third act is my stand up, and it's gonna be like it just builds up like Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it starts off nice and easy, and then the third act is like people meet Leatherface and it gets all gross and grotesque and beautiful at the same time. It's gonna be
right.
fantastic. Yeah.
So, are you familiar with Aristotle's Poetics?
I'm not at all, but if you can send me some of your favorites from Aristotle because I'd love to learn more about Aristotle.
Aristotle is was a genius, one of the most wise people of all time. I actually um, agree with Aristotle more than I do Plato a lot. Um, but yeah, so this particular piece, he wrote on theater, and everything had to be according to canon. This was like fucking like 3 AD or some shit. I mean, it had to have 5 acts. It had to be rising and falling with a clear denouement ending, and there's all this. It's about that, and it's fascinating. And it's just great history to know about how theater came about.
Absolutely. I'll definitely send me the link because I'm so interested in that. And
Sure,
it
sure.
might like the reason why I don't use curse words in my set it's because going back to the Wu-Tang Clan, like my favorite verse of all time, no matter the genre of music, is Inspector Deck's verse on Triumph, and he talks about Socrates and all this stuff, and he doesn't say a single curse word, and it's like one of the best verses of all
Yeah,
time. And
yeah.
that's like one of the reasons why I don't say curse words on stage. It's like this is
That's
fantastic.
that's also another reason why like Wu Tang, they're smart people.
Yep.
That's the thing. They connect and they make you think, and at the same time, it's like this moving like music, which is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I play too, and I try and I mean to get that momentum and that erect this like living, breathing entity. I never really understood it the way I did until comedy, but it's with music and so many other things, same thing. It's like magic.
Absolutely. And speaking of the word connect, like one of my favorite songs is when with RZA and Kanye West and Jay Z and with Kanye saying me and the RZA connect, and that from the Watch the Throne album, it's just like awesome. I'm glad they got together and made a song together. It's rad.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah,
I'll have
um,
to send you the link. It's a dope song for sure.
please do. Yeah, absolutely.
I have so many links to send you, and like I'm looking forward to your Aristotle link too. So it's pretty rad.
Oh yeah, and if you ever need any kind of shit like that, yeah, easy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rad. And Ray, what's your favorite joke a comic has written?
Fuck. Um, I'm sure it's one of mine. No,
Go for it. I'd like to hear it,
I don't know. I kind of just don't really think about things that way. Like people are like, so is it the Beatles or the Stones or something? It's like, why do we have to choose? I don't. But not only like it's not in this case. I'm not rebelling against it. I just really don't think about it that way. You know what I mean? But I'll do my best in the spirit of uh, being a good guest and just trying to uh, give it the old college try, and also uh, let's see, favorite bit by a comedian. I'll tell you, it's up there. Was fucking Bill Hicks when he does Elvis, and he's wiping himself with the rags, and like brand new Cadillac, brand new Cadillac, because he did that shit in his concerts back in the '70s when he was like totally fucking just blitzed on cocaine and shit. And that was a really funny one. That's one of my favorites, definitely. Um, it's up there.
Absolutely. Indeed. And let's see here. And circling back to the your favorite comedy films, my favorite comedy film of all time is Tommy Boy, but because of the my college years. But what's your favorite comedy film?
Yeah. Okay. So we tried to figure this one out earlier, and I was having trouble with it. Let's see. Um, it is hard. You know, we were talking about like Bill Murray earlier, he's one of my favorites too. I mean, brilliant, what about Bob? I mean, it's such a unique kind of thing. And like you were talking about doing clean, I really admire that because, it's easy to swear. Swearing a lot of the times is used as a nonverbal when people do it. Like, and fucking, I went to the thing and fucking, and fuck, you know, it's like that's not clean. That's not crisp. So I admire that, and I'll tell you, I'm I can do it, but I need some work on. I'll be the first one to tell you. It's uh, I naturally, whatever that is, but I just swear a lot, no matter who I'm talking to, and I have since I was a kid. And I've gotten all the time, like, with all the education you have and all the big words and concepts that you can only think of, using the same four word. It's like, yeah, because they make me feel good, you know. So, but it's a professional thing, If you gotta work clean, or if you want to work clean, fuck yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Indeed, like, and that's why, like, I chose, my journalism major or mass comm major over English because I'm not a fan of big words, and like my journalism teacher was like, use that acronym KISS, not like the band, but KISS, like it's keep it simple, stupid. And I'm like, all right, so I kept my words easy and like people easy to understand because I just don't like big words. They're just I don't keep them in my sets, and just like
and
if people don't.
uh, certain writing like Greek philosophy and like certain most analytic philosophy, and really like until you're pretty fucking like up there and like almost famous, yeah, writing as clearly and concisely as you possibly can is the best thing to do because it's already complicated stuff. So, you know,
Indeed. And
that's a
another,
great skill to have and employ. Yeah.
absolutely. We talked about our favorite comic flicks and horror flicks, and another good flick that I love is Almost Famous. Pulling from the words that you did, and
Yeah, yeah.
it
I don't remember that one, but I, I'm not a big like I've got a terrible memory, and I'm not like a big movie buff other than horror movies.
indeed, I recommend Almost Famous. I'll send you the link to the trailer, but it's like it reminded me of
Yeah.
myself because it's like this kid, he got hired by
Oh,
Rolling Stone.
I've seen it. I have seen it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
That was an interesting flick. Yeah, yeah.
indeed. It was like one of my favorites because it reminded me of myself because I got to see all my favorite bands for free in LA, and I got to write about them and photograph them. And then like it
Oh,
was just
that would
the
be so amazing.
it was
Yeah.
the
How
gig.
cool would that be? Like, yeah, that would be so cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. I had the time of my life. All I had to do was pay for parking and merch, and I was all good. So it was
That's
good.
so cool. Yeah, I wish. I mean, I've gotten to meet some of my favorite musicians and stuff, but not like in connection like that. That's cool as shit, man.
Heck yeah. And that's why they evolved into like Fest because it's like it's free to get in. There's no submission fees or anything, but like it's free to get in from the crowd and everything. Like I'm not sure they have like people like independent folks like myself and you and the bands to build their following for free on my platform than like charge people to come in because I've been to Coachella, I've been to like Sunset Strip Music Festival, I've been to all those festivals and they're so expensive and I'm like I don't want people to put that kind of money in my pocket. That's just ridiculous.
That's
Like
great, man.
yeah.
Because I'm not like hating on any of that shit, but like it's not my thing for sure. And I like intimate settings. Like, when I see my favorite bands and stuff, like I want to see them as close and intimately as possible. That's awesome. I've seen the Melvins, who were one of my favorite bands of all time. Yeah, I've seen them like 3 or 4 times, and it's always been. I mean, like 2 or 3 of the times. I think twice. It was like 10 people, and it's. I mean, I understand it if it's not there, whatever. But think about going to a fucking tiny club and you get there to see the Wu Tang Clan. There's 10 people, and they're basically doing the show for you. Like it's cool, man. You know,
I love those small intimate crowds and like, going back to the my 1:16 a.m. set from like Wednesday, like there was only like 3 people in the crowd, but I'm like, I'm
yeah.
glad you're still here for this.
Hey, I'll take 3 people who are there to laugh and listen and be cool, than like 300 asshole idiots.
That's
No
I'm
point.
I'm with you on that one, Ray, for sure. 100%. 100%. And let's see here. And we're almost to the finish line
Sure.
and what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
Oh well, I so I answer every question with like well, I don't know, like another question or some kind of like I can't say. Um, I would say at this point in time, like I'm not trying to say anything profound or whatever, but like it's really been hard on people, and I know that people are tired. I'm tired of hearing it. They're like, we're all in this together. No, we're not. Like, unfortunately, we're not. Maybe, a lot of us are, but no. A lot of shit is really bad, and it's unacceptable. And I feel like it's my responsibility to do what I can to change that. So, that's that's like the utmost thing, and always at root, it's about, hey, that I'm here to invite you to fucking relate to me, not only just to me and my experience, but to understand that it's okay, like that your experiences are different, and if we listen more to people, it can make it a lot better, and we'll understand and not hate each other as much. And when you're not afraid of it, joking about it helps maybe the most of anything. When somebody can laugh about it and then they're not afraid of it, and all of a sudden you got a dialogue. You know that is the. I mean, that's the best that you can do with it. And that's really, I mean, amazing. It's amazing to have the opportunity to do that. You know, uh, so that's me, and also that you don't know what people are like. You don't know who a person is, especially if you haven't been friends with them for a long time and experienced them doing things. So it's like, hey, one thing is like just dispelling common myths, especially about cerebral palsy. Like, hey, I like to fuck. Like, still, what a big surprise. Like, we fuck. Just something so simple. Like, in fact, I'm thinking about wanting to fuck you, but it's like not a predator thing, just like, and I wouldn't say that now, you know, but you get the idea of like, I'm just trying to say I'm a human, and despite, you being like, you're so brave, you're so talented, it's like, well, how about when I'm like, you know, on welfare and like, fucking, like, eating steak with food stamps now, my good person. Like you're just saying that because you think that people with disabilities are just like, too afraid to do anything. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case with
Indeed, most def. And Ray, as we talked about how stand-up comedy is like a secret society, and this is what the stand-up speakeasy is. Stand-up speakeasy is. It's like a secret society of stand-up comics. It's the Prohibition, the Roaring Twenties, and as Mo nominated you as to be my guest on the show, which
that.
comics out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, would you like to see on future episodes of the Speakeasy?
Oh, does it have to be Fayetteville?
Nope. You can go nationwide if you want.
Okay, well, because I had somebody in mind because I actually thought about it the other night. Um, and that's the only reason I asked. So I really check out Lou Moon. And
Awesome.
do you need what kind of contact do you need? Um,
Facebook or email or however I can reach
uh,
them. Uh,
well, just look him up, Facebook him. If you can't find him or get a hold of him, I'll proceed and we'll get a hold of him. But I nominate my buddy Lou Moon. He's out in Arizona, and man, we've done altercation 2 years together. We roomed together the second year. We've had some, we hung out in Arizona. I mean, great friend of mine and just smart and fucking talented. So, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'll definitely reach out to Lou, and thank you so much for being my guest, Ray. And
Oh,
and
man, my pleasure.
it's a
Thanks for doing it. It was fun.
you're welcome. And as a friendly reminder to everyone, please donate to his Ray's Cash App and Venmo and PayPal. They're on the bottom. Follow him on Instagram and on his new sketch show on Facebook, and donate to pay his follow him on Twitter and visit his website and donate to Border Area Kindness as well. And with that being said, Ray, are there any final words that you'd like to give out to the audience at home?
Not just I'm planning tour dates. I'm excited to get back out. I'm excited to see everyone. And be kind to each other. Let's just try and do that.
That's awesome. And like Ray said, be kind to each other and be safe, and everyone take, and we'll see each other soon and all that good stuff. And I can't wait to catch Ray on tour. So make sure you go to his website and check out all his future tour dates. And can't wait to see him in Colorado or whenever that may be,
I
and
can't
or
wait to meet
Florida.
you. Thanks so much again. Really great to meet you. Hit me up anytime.
Awesome. Likewise, Ray. And if you ever come to Florida, I'll do my very best to help set up a tour for
I
you
was
throughout
just
Florida.
about to say the same thing about Arkansas. Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. You're welcome, Ray. And thank you for watching, everyone. And until next time, we'll see you on this next stand up speakeasy. Be well, everyone.